Now we're going to talk about the difference between mass and weight. So hopefully you watch the Eureka episode. It does a really good job of explaining it. I know it's a cartoon, but it actually does a really nice job. Anyways, so mass is the amount of matter in a substance, and it's measured on a balance comparing like known standards. We measure it in kilograms. So the big thing is mass is the amount of matter of a substance. It's measured in kilograms. Your mass stays the same no matter where you go. So if I physically went to the moon, I would still have the same amount of matter in my body. If I went to Mars, I still would have the same amount of matter, or Jupiter. It doesn't matter what planet I am, my mass will be constant. Weight, however, weight is the force of gravity on an object. So it's measured in newtons, and we use the force of gravity formula because weight and force of gravity are the exact same thing. So your weight will vary depending on the force of gravity. So on Earth versus the moon, I would weigh less because the force of gravity on the moon is less. It's 1/6 of the Earth. So my weight would actually change depending on my location. So if I was on the moon or the planet Earth, or even the top of a mountain versus the surface of the Earth, the force of gravity is slightly different. So mass is the amount of matter. It's measured in kilograms. It stays constant. Your weight is basically the force of gravity, and it's measured in newtons. So in this example, it says the maximum train load pulled through the channel, and the channel is a train that travels under the English Channel that links England and France, is 2,434 tons. Little t stands for tons. Determine the weight of this load. Now, you haven't looked at the unit tons at all, and there's two different tons. There's an American one and a Canadian one. We're going to look at the Canadian ton. So a ton is basically 1,000 kilograms. So if I want to convert this to kilograms, I just simply have to multiply it by 1,000. So first thing we do when we solve any problem is we write down the given information. So I know the mass is equal to 2,434 tons, which would be equal to, when I multiply that by 1,000, 2,434, and I'm going to add 3 zeros to it, kilograms. I'm looking for the weight. Well, weight is the same thing as saying the force of gravity. And I'm on the planet Earth, so I know little g is 9.8 newtons per kilogram. If you want to keep writing meters per second squared, that's fine, in the down direction. All right, now that I've written out my given information, we need our formula. Well, we just said that weight is the same thing as the force of gravity, so we simply just use our force of gravity formula, just mg. Let's plug in what we know. We know that the mass is this giant number, which is 2,434,000. Okay, times 9.8. And when I put that into my calculator, I end up with 23,853,200. Weight is the force of gravity, is measured in newtons, and it's always being pulled down towards the center of the Earth.